Hi, I'm Miriam Joy, and we took a field trip today. We brought you down to the Wuertz Gourd farms. And Waylon, one of the most questions that I get asked is, what is the name of certain types of gourds? And people that are starting out new don't know the names. Could you tell us the names of the gourds?
I sure can. That's a question that we get asked a lot too at the farm. And there's so many different varieties that are out there. There's probably well over several hundred varieties. Here at the farm we grow 32 different varieties. And these are some of the most common ones that we sell here at the farm. First one in front of me here, the Maranka Gourd. They're just a very unique, cool gourd. They've got the really cool ridges on them. So again, this is a Maranka. M-A-R-A-N-K-A is how you pronounce and spell those. A lot of our little Christmas ornament ones, these are the banana gourds.
We make a lot of snowmen or Santa Claus out of those.
We do see a lot of those out of those, as well as the tall banana gourds that we have here. They'll cut these off and do some spirit dolls out of those as well. Both very popular with us. Next we have the mini bottles. They just look like a tiny snowman. Again, popular with the Christmas ornaments, and very dense little gourd that works very good.
So we could wood burn on those?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Similar to the mini bottles, we have the mini Kettle gourds. Again, a hard shell variety, very dense shell. A lot of people use these for ornaments too.
All right.
We also have then the spoon gourds. Now these are part of the ornamental family. So these are the pretty colorful ones that you'd see around Thanksgiving time. They're often waxed, sold in the grocery stores, but then they eventually rot on you after a couple months. These we let dry, they turn brown, and then they're ready to work on. The only downside with these is because they are an ornamental variety, they are a thinner gourd too, so you can't carve. You can do light wood burning on them, but no carving. Same thing goes for the crown of thorn gourd. These are a unique gourd, but very thin. Unique floral arrangements we see a lot of these made into.
Yeah, because you can still see the color a little bit from this one, like you'd have it.
Yeah, there's a few there, and when the sun hits a little bit more, then they'll start fading a little bit more as well.
Okay.
Also, what most people don't know is most people don't know what this is. But I bet you everybody's seen these in the bath and beauty section. These are the Luffa sponges. They're not grown in the sea. They're actually part of the cucurbit family, and they grow just like a cucumber does. And somehow along the line they've gotten lumped into the gourd family. So this is what they look like once they're dry. So they have the ridges on them, and then as soon as they're wet and peeled, they're made into a little sponge. So, and once they're wet, you can wad them up, you can wring them out, and they work great for body scrubbing in the shower.
There's also a great project if you cut them up in slices and put the soap into them too.
Correct. Yeah, they work
really great hand soap. Yeah.
They work very great, and this one has a little discoloration there. If you ever buy one like that, just put it in a mild bleach water solution. It turns the whole loofah bright white, and then you're left with just a beautiful scrubber. And these will actually last longer than you'd probably want to use them.
Wow.
The next variety that we have, the Cannonball Gourds. Again, a hard shell variety, probably the densest shell of all the gourds. Not necessarily the thickest, but by far the densest wood, so it holds any kind of carving pattern that you do very well.
Don't want to throw them at anybody.
No, they are definitely hard. And also we have the egg gourds. These again are an ornamental variety, very thin, but work good for painting. Next in front of me, we have the extra long-handled dipper gourd. And these will grow in very unique shapes. Grown on the ground, they're just going to grow very pretzel-y, twisty shapes, and you never know what you're going to get on them.
Yeah, as an artist, we like to take several of those and mix them together and to make an arrangement or something to set on the table with those. So.
Correct, and these, everybody sees something different.
Yes.
So you never know what they're going to be made into. Over here in front of me now, we've got the canteen gourd. Perfectly round, perfectly flat, but shallow gourd. They generally have a very thick shell and are great for carving or wood burning. They're also referred to these as a Corsican flat, but here at the farm we just call them a canteen gourd.
Those are one of my favorite ones to work on.
Yes, very versatile. You can do lots of projects with them, and a good number of our customers prefer those. Here in front of me now, this is kind of a cross. These we call a tall body gourd or a vase gourd, and it just gets its name because it has a taller body, more like a vase, hence the name on those. Most of these are flat sitting, extremely thick shell, so great for carving and woodwork. This other one, this is a new variety we started growing about 3-4 years ago, and it is called a Copper Canyon Canteen. Every once in a while it's also referred to as a bushel gourd. They both resemble each other. These just tend to grow between 5 and 7 inches in diameter, but very, very universal gourd and great for carving and woodburning.
Is that as hard as the Cannonball?
They're very similar. The Cannonball is going to have a thicker shell,
Okay.
but these again are very, very thick gourd and great for carving, so feel free to carve deep into these.
You could see doing oil lamps in those. That'd be a nice
Exactly.
shape with it coming up.
Yeah, and with them sitting nice and flat, you don't have to worry about them tipping over.
Okay.
Next in line we have the dipper gourd. Again, probably the most common gourd that people think of when they think of gourds. These were used long ago for water ladles. They'd cut the bottom half of the bulb off and use them for scooping water. Very, very nice gourd, and just kind of a good starter gourd for people to start on.
I've also seen them cut that off and use it at the front part as a mask as well.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And next to me here we have the apple gourd. Again, looks just like a giant apple. Great for just simple projects. Some people will do birdhouses occasionally, but for the most part they're just stained red or painted red and left as is. Then also in front of me we have the penguin gourd. Again, this looks like the shape of a penguin. They work really good for small projects. We do donations for schools with these. Kids really like to use them because they're just kind of a neat bird shape. So again, a fun project to work on. This is one of our crosses that happened. Kind of looks like a giant strawberry or a turnip. They use for large Christmas ornaments. This is a hard shell variety, so it tends to be fairly thick, about 1/3 of an inch thick. And just kind of a unique cross that we get that happens here on the farm. Next we have the regular hard shell Warty Gourd. It is a unique one being that it has all these bumps are not a fungus or growth or bacteria, it's actually part of the shell. And they work really good for doing small bowls, nut, and candy dishes.
But you don't remove the warty part.
Correct. Yeah, you leave the warts on. If you try to remove them, it reveals kind of a corky surface that doesn't look as good as if you'd left them on.
Okay.
Next, this is one of our more popular varieties, the bottle gourd. And we kind of lump the bottle gourds into anything that resembles a snowman. The two bulbs, hourglass shape, snowman shape, those we all kind of lump into the bottle gourd section. These are a hard shell variety, very thick, very symmetrical, and they work good for a number of projects.
That's what 90% of all my projects are done with is a bottle gourd.
Well, they just work good for vases, for instruments, for bowls. You can almost get 2 projects out of each gourd.
Right, right.
And over there, if you hand me that kettle gourd there. Again, these last 2 varieties here, these are probably our most popular ones. They all sit flat, they're all extremely thick, they have great symmetry, excuse me, and they work perfect for just a ton of different projects.
Yeah, I like to use the bowls on the kettle. But what's another name for this? It's really
Oh yeah,
popular
the
in
kettle
East.
gourd that we call here is also referred to as a martin gourd.
I've also noticed that in the West and the East they have different names for different things.
Yep.
Do you know what they refer to as a Tennessee spinner?
Correct.
What is that called that you call it here?
Tennessee spinner we used to refer to as a mini kettle gourd.
Okay.
But the proper name, and we're getting back to trying to call it the proper name, it is a Tennessee spinner, and that's what most people across the U.S. are familiar with.
So if there is 2 different names, chances are it's just we call it something, they call it something else.
Correct.
Okay.
And there's so many different variations and names for them. The best way to do it is just describe them how you see them. When we're referring to the kettle gourds, we say, oh, it's the ones that look like a giant Hershey Kiss. So there's no wrong way in describing them. We'll figure out what people are looking for based on their...
Okay, that's great.
The last 3 gourds we have here are ones that are longer gourds. These are the club gourds. They have a bulb at the end, and very few of them, at least here on the farm, grow straight. The field kind of determines the shape that they're going to take. But we see a lot of spirit dolls, kachina dolls, made into these, and they work really good for a variety of projects.
Now, are those the same as what people would refer to as a snake gourds?
They're slightly different than a snake gourd.
Okay.
They're going to have the same shape and size, but the snake gourd is going to taper just a little bit towards where the stem is.
Okay.
So that's the difference in the two there.
Well, I really appreciate you showing us all the different varieties today. That's very educational. Thank you.
You're welcome.